Awesome. Well, first, thanks for joining us this afternoon, particularly on the last minute, really the last minute call for folks to come here so we can give an update on what we are doing as a city to help prepare for really harsh weather over the next few days. We're going to see our community in frigid temperatures, and we want to give an update on what we are doing and what the different folks in our departments are doing to keep people safe. So first up, we have a series of folks who are going to come up and speak who represent these departments and are experts. So we'll save questions towards the end so that we can make sure that the questions are answered by the person best to answer those questions. But first up, we have Nate from the Wichita Police Homeless Outreach Team to discuss how we plan on protecting our residents who are experiencing homelessness over the next few days. So Nate?
Hello, Officer Nate Sweeto, Wichita Police Department's Homeless Outreach Team. One of the things that we're trying to do as a team, we have a lot of different duties that we do, but we're also trying to focus right now our energies on going out and finding people, making those 911 calls that are welfare calls, and trying to get people connected with the shelters. Later on, we're going to hear a little bit from housing in regards to the shelters, some of the changes that they've made in order to address this. What I can tell you is that every single shelter has not turned anyone away because they've been too full. Now, there are instances where someone might have a condition, maybe they're handicapped, and the shelters won't take them because of that, because they don't have the ability or the facilities to take care of them. What we've done is we actually partnered in this situation with Sandpiper Healthcare and Rehabilitation Center. So we'll be doing referrals, and also all the shelters know to give them a call if they have someone that they can't care for because of their physical disabilities, that they will have shelter through that rehabilitation center. Also, the Salvation Army has opened up all the way through the winter. They've opened up their lobbies, and those locations are at 350 North Market, at also 1739 South El Pico, and also at 1910 South Everett. They're also going to have food and beverages at those locations during the weekday, during week times. So with that.
Thank you, sir. Next up, we have Lieutenant Santiago, very good, with the Wichita Police Department Animal Shelter to provide us an update on the animals and what to expect with the low temperatures for our pets.
Good afternoon, Lieutenant Santiago Hungria Jr. I just wanted to come out and make sure that we keep in mind the animals, that especially the dogs we have outside, just make sure we're providing adequate food and shelter for these animals, especially with these kind of temperatures. They're going to use a lot more water, a lot more food. So take in consideration that. Also their shelter, their housing. Make sure that we're checking their bedding, make sure with the possibility of precipitation. We want to make sure that that they're not in a environment where that material is going to be wet and they're going to have to sleep in that. If you can, obviously with the temperatures being as low as they're expected to be over the next few days, if you can take them inside, please do. Thanks.
Thank you, Lieutenant. Next up, we're going to talk with our Assistant Housing Director, Mr. Brad Schnapp. Earlier this week, we began operating the former 316 Hotel as a winter women's shelter. Brad's going to give us an update on the rest of the operations.
Thank you, Mayor. There's basically 3 shelters that are available. Humankind is not turning anyone away this weekend. The men's shelter normally has some hours to it, but it's open 24/7 through next Tuesday, February 16th. The women's emergency shelter in the former 316 Hotel at 1011 North Topeka is open 24/7, as well as the Inn at 320 East Central, and that shelter will accommodate families with children. The Salvation Army has opened its offices for warming centers, 350 North Market, 8:30 to 4:30, 1739 South El Pico, 9 a.m. to 3 p.m., 1910 South Everett, open 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., but all 3 shelters or offices will be closed on Monday, February 15th. The Union Rescue Mission is a men's shelter at 2800 North Hillside, and it's open 24/7, and they say they will not turn any man away either. Thank you.
Next up, we have, thanks, Brad. Next up, we have Battalion Chief Jose, who's here with us to provide us an update on fire and ice safety. Chief?
Thank you, sir. Jose O'Cades, Battalion Chief with the Wichita Fire Department. A couple things that we would like to remind everyone of: space heater safety. Right now, with the temperatures falling and in the below freezing, a lot of people are using space heaters. We want to remind you to plug them directly into an outlet. Do not use extension cords with these for space heaters. Also, be aware of the space clearance of that space heater itself. Always at least 3 feet of any type of object that could fall on there, especially near a couch. You have a blanket that might fall on there, it would become a ignition source. And also be aware of any little children or even pets that might knock over a space heater. The newer style of space heaters currently have a tip over protection. So if you're having an older style space heater, make sure that if it does tip over, it automatically shuts off. Another safety tip that we like to remind is right now also with the heating devices that you're utilizing, make sure that it has proper ventilation. Carbon monoxide right now is a very big concern, and we respond to a lot of gas calls. So we want to make sure that you're using appropriate style types of heating devices from furnaces or even space heaters, but do not use your oven for heating up your home, but also be aware of any other type of heating device that doesn't have proper ventilation. And using electrical generators inside of a home builds up carbon monoxide. So again, it's very important that you utilize those devices appropriately. You could also make sure that you have a carbon monoxide detector. Carbon monoxide detectors are going to be able to get a reading about 35 parts per million to be able to alert you that there is a buildup of carbon monoxide. So if you don't have one, you can reach out to the Wichita Fire Department. We do have some in inventory that we could go out and install carbon monoxide and even smoke alarms. For homes that have crawl spaces, the possibility of your water lines freezing, make sure that you leave your water dripping so that there'll be a constant flow of water, and try to avoid the freezing of your water lines and having some type of rupture of those lines and then causing more damage to your homes. And also ice safety. This past week, we've had a couple incidents throughout the city on some ice safety incidents. We want to remind the families of the dangers of the icy ponds and lakes throughout the city. There's 3 points that we want you to make sure that you're aware of. There's no way that we can judge the strength and the safety based on just the appearance of these lakes and ponds, so stay off the ice. Always have parental guidance or making sure that you're aware of your children, and even your dogs or your pets are on leashes near those ponds so they won't wander off onto the ice. And if somebody does fall into the ice itself, do not attempt to rescue. Call 911 right away and try to just find something that you can reach out with them, but don't put yourself in that danger and that risk either. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, I'd like to invite Ben up. He's the Interim Assistant Director of the Public Works to provide an update on our winter weather response for our streets. Good to see you, Ben.
Likewise. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Ben Nelson, BEN, NELSON, Interim Assistant Director, Wichita Public Works. I've talked with you guys here a couple of times this last week as we continue to confront ongoing snow, ice chances, while also enduring some incredibly low temperatures that are mostly unknown to Wichita. I said it on Monday when I was down here, and I'll say it again. This isn't Kansas weather. This is more like Arctic weather that's occurring in Kansas right now. So we're expecting to have wind chills 15, 30 below, sub-zero temperatures prolonging over the weekend. And at the same time, we're expecting, at least right now, forecast 7 to 10 inches in some cases of snow. So this is somewhat of an unprecedented situation. I don't know that we've encountered that any time in the recent past. So we have some concerns about street conditions deteriorating rapidly beginning Sunday night, which is when the precipitation is forecast to start, and continuing to be in fairly poor shape probably through the early part of the work week. A lot of the times when we get cold, very, very, very cold weather like this, coupled with any kind of precipitation, it's difficult for our normal salt and sand mix to be as effective as it is in warmer temperatures. Normal road salt is a sodium chloride compound. It melts fairly effectively down to about 10 degrees, but once you get below that, it becomes about 90% less effective. So in the same way that we supplemented it over this last weekend and early part of this week, we'll do the same again, where we provide a mix of calcium chloride, which is a different type of salt that's far more effective at those very low temperatures. We had doubled our normal calcium chloride supplement earlier this week. We're likely to continue to do that as the precipitation falls Sunday into Monday, and we may also need to increase the spread rate of how much material we put down. A key component of that mix is a sand treatment that provides traction to drivers. A lot of times in normal storms, we can count on some sunlight or some warming temperatures to gradually melt off a lot of the precipitation. We cannot count on that, obviously, this time around. So that sand's going to be key to give drivers at least a modicum of safety as they travel around. So this is not a normal situation for us. I do not anticipate that we'll have roads that are in very good driving condition for the next few days that follow the onset of precipitation. We're doing everything we can, though, to respond. We've had our crews activated since 7 a.m. Sunday. We first got some snow on Saturday that we cleared away, got our folks sent home after we cleared that, but then called them back as snow started up again Sunday and continued Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday. And so right now they're readying equipment. There's a map up here. It's our wichita.gov snow removal map where you can track the plows. You can see we're not out driving around all over the place right now. What we're doing presently is readying equipment and our supplies to make sure we're ready to go. And the last couple of things I'd say in terms of what we're doing to make sure we're prepared, our salt and sand supplies are well beyond what we need to get through the rest of the winter time. We have 3 salt and sand domes at our 3 different a salt and sand dome at our substations and our maintenance facility. Those are fully stocked. We have about another 5.5 times of salt and sand that's available at 2 different salt reserves. So we're well stocked on salt and sand material, and we're also topping off our fuel supplies at our centralized fueling locations, and have arranged, if we need to have fuel deliveries over the holiday weekend in the event that we need to. So that's what we're doing to be prepared. Again, I'd caution people, bad driving conditions are likely to persist for a few days, and to take normal driving precautions. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben. So we're gonna first. I want to thank everyone who are out there working to make Wichita safe during what Ben describes, and I agree. Not just bad Kansas weather, but really Arctic weather that's happening here in Kansas. Last day or so, a lot of folks have reached out, and the questions usually are, what are the resources for our Wichita neighbors who are experiencing homelessness? What are our outreach efforts when it comes to reaching folks who are homeless and letting them know, what resources are there? What can we do with space heaters and to keep our pipes from freezing? And also, what are we doing when it comes to the roads? So knowing or collecting pretty much those questions the last day or so, and getting together this group of folks who are here to answer any questions. I want to turn it over to you all if there are information that you have been asked for to make sure that we can get that information out at this time.
I do have a question about safety with freezing ponds. I have seen kids playing and the parents seem not to be anywhere nearby. Can you guys discuss how dangerous it can be, somebody falling into the freezing waters, even if it's a community pond?
Yeah, and we could have someone who will get more technical, but of course, growing up in New England, we're taught particularly it's never safe to walk on a river. And ponds, usually the deeper you get, the less the strength the ice has. But I'll turn it over to someone who's an expert on it.
Yeah, so that's the dangers is that we want, and that's what we want to make sure that the families are aware of the dangers of these ponds and lakes is that we can't determine the thickness of that sheet of ice. It might appear that it's very thick and it's going to be sustained to weights, but it's not going to be equalized throughout the whole pond or lake. And they get to a certain point, and that's when it starts cracking, and then that's when they fall in. Just the hypothermia factor right when you fall in. It's crucial within minutes of, your body shutting down, because initially you start shivering to keep yourself warm, and then after that, there's no more shivering because your temperatures are too low to try to keep the body at a certain temperature. So we want families to do not allow any of your family members to play on any type of lake or pond or anything that's located in your neighborhood or outside your neighborhoods. Be aware of the dangers of that and explain that to your kids, is because they could fall in. The incident that occurred earlier this week, prime example, that was just a little creek that they were inside of and they fell in. There were certain parts that was maybe a couple inches thick, and then once they got into it, it was very less than an inch thick is when they collapsed inside. So again, not even on little rivers or creeks or ponds or lakes. We want everybody to stay away from any type of water source that's standing water, so that there's the possibility that we won't have any type of incident occur on those areas.
You guys train for those rescues, right?
Yes, right now, yes. Our special operations stations, we have Station 4 and Station 10. They're currently conducting, reviewing in classroom sessions, and then next week they're going to be actually doing hands-on training outside with their equipment that our special operation has, from water rescue to ice rescue, with all the equipment that we utilize, from ropes and rafts, all the types of devices that we have.
Thank you.
But we don't want them being called, so, so hopefully they won't have to use that specialized training, but yes, we want to keep everyone as safe as we can. Further questions?
Have there been any fatal injuries as far as hypothermia or anything like that? We had some screenshots into our newsroom online. Any kind of fatal injuries?
So I'm sure you're referring to folks who are experiencing homelessness, and I'll turn that over to probably one of our officers with the hot team, because I've also received some concerns that there are folks out there who might be in physical danger or experience physical danger. So
We have information that people have obviously passed away in this past week. We're still looking at it, and our detectives are looking to see if those individuals were in fact homeless or not. We don't have any information that there were, but we continue the efforts. We're out there very busy right now, going to a lot of welfare calls, trying to encourage people to utilize the shelters, giving them the information about the new hours, and so we're hoping that there won't be anything like that happen.
Are you still finding homeless camps with people in them?
Yes, I mean, just being honestly, there's a lot of people that choose not to use the shelters. We've done a great job in Wichita as far as getting enough shelter space, so they're not being turned away because they're not full. There's a lot of people, some just choose not to use the shelters for whatever reason. So, but a lot of times when it gets this cold, the people that were refusing earlier, they changed their mind during this week. I was actually just at the winter shelter for the females at the Hotel 316, that was recently purchased, and the numbers were one of the highest they'd ever been. But that's also a good thing because that tells us that they're using the shelters, and so.
In these temperatures, is it enough to layer up, put on a scarf, put on a heavy coat, put on gloves? Is that enough in freezing temperatures like this?
Well, everybody's situation is different. I will say, like, the enough amount of calls we get, we always want to see if people are, if they're walking and moving, that's a good thing. If they're bundled up and moving, they're keeping the blood flowing. Where it starts to get scary is if, they're intoxicated and they fall asleep, and then their body goes into hypothermia overnight. In the past year, I've worked, cases where homeless people had died because of that, not knowing that the temperature dropped and it was too cold at night. So that is a concern. It's just when they're laying down for hours on end, that's when it starts to be a concern for us.
also with the temperatures we're getting, this winter, exposed skin could freeze within, I think, 5 minutes. With some of the temperatures might go as low as they are. So we want to, that's part of one of the reasons why we're getting this information out is this, as Ben said, is Arctic temperatures happening in Kansas, not your typical Kansas cold. So I think that if there are folks out there who are trying to just assume this is the same temperatures as normal, we want to make sure that they know there's it's going to be worse and that there is options out there to get to a safe, warm area. Other questions? Kate, you got anything? No? And you're new, so I'm not going to pick on you, but, all right. All right, well, thanks. Megan, can we hopefully get some of this information out on our socials, at least about the, you already checked it off? Okay. All right, well, thank you all for being here. Of course, if there's anything else we can assist with as far as getting information out, we are happy to do so, and we really appreciate everyone being here somewhat last minute so we can get this information out. Thank you.